Hello everybody and welcome back to the GradCracker webinars. I hope you all had a brilliant Christmas and a very happy new year. And now we're back to it, using GradCracker to find the perfect placement or graduate opportunity. I'm really pleased to welcome Siemens today for the next GradCracker webinar. We're joined by Charlotte, Early Careers Talent Acquisition Consultant. Nice job title, Charlotte, to say in the webinar. And 3 graduate engineers, Nathaniel, Nicole and Alabade. Charlotte. We've done all our waves. Charlotte, before we go on and meet the graduates, can you please give the audience an overview to who Siemens is and your role within the business?
Thanks, Carla. So yeah, like Carla said, my job title is talent acquisition consultant, working specifically on the early careers teams at Siemens. So that's why I'm here today to talk about some graduate and intern opportunities that we have. So in terms of Siemens as a whole, so Siemens are actually Europe's leading engineering and technology company. We employ around 16,500 people in the UK, so pretty big employer. And then globally, we have around 293,000 people working for us. So we're a pretty big company. We're actually seen as sort of pioneers in the engineering field, and we have been since 1847. And our technologies span across a lot of different sectors, such as industry, mobility, energy, healthcare, and smart infrastructure. Siemens plays such a big part in answering a lot of society's problems with our engineering technologies and our really good ingenious software. So yeah, that's sort of a little bit of an overview about Siemens.
Yeah, thank you, Charlotte. And I think it's strange, isn't it, since I started working at GradCracker, obviously I'd heard of Siemens before, like 10, 15 years ago. But the amount of times we see Siemens now, knowing the name on different products and things like that, I thought, oh, I never knew that Siemens did that. So obviously now to the audience, watch the webinar and keep your eyes out because they're involved in so many different sectors and industries that Charlotte just mentioned. And I was going to say this a little bit later on, but the Siemens Hub on GradCracker, there's 2 areas of the hub which I really like and I find really interesting. One of the sectors, we go into detail about all the different sectors that Siemens is involved in, and also the history page. So Charlotte just mentioned about when the company was founded, but we do go into more detail about like the timeline throughout the different generations at Siemens. So go and have a look at the hub on GradCracker. There's lots of information on there as well, which kind of just seconds what Charlotte said. And just to give you, the audience, a bit of an idea, so Siemens currently has placements and graduate opportunities open for you to apply to. The deadlines are ongoing, so a bit of a quick trick is that when the deadlines are ongoing, that basically means if Siemens receives enough good quality applications, they'll actually close their applications. So make sure you thoroughly research Siemens, watch the webinars, look at the hub, and get your applications in ASAP because they will be closing out soon. Another page on the hub which we've just recently updated because of COVID, is the application process as well with Siemens. So there's currently 3 stages in the application process: application screening, game-based assessment, and video interviews. Charlotte, just to spin back round to you, the game-based assessment and the video interviews might be new to some people. We're still kind of changing into this environment with your digital and your new technologies. What hints and tips would you give students who have reached those stages into the application process?
Yeah, so for the games-based assessment and for the video interview, sort of a tip that applies to both, a key thing, and it will seem really obvious, but it's so important, is sticking to the deadlines that have been set. Because we get quite a lot of people that will say, oh, I'm really sorry, I've been too busy, can you extend the deadline for me? But then we'll have the majority of the people that manage to complete it on time, and we'll always give them at least a week or around about a week to complete. And we appreciate that everyone's busy with uni and stuff, but it does look a lot more impressive if you can meet the deadlines, no questions asked, because then that's an indication of how you would perform in your job role with us, because obviously deadlines are a key thing in any business, not just Siemens. For both the games-based assessment and the video interviews, again, you obviously want to perform your best. So I would say making sure that you complete it at a time where you're pretty sure you're not going to have any distractions. They both don't take longer than half an hour, I wouldn't say. So, it's not going to be really hard to find, you don't need a whole half day to complete them both. But yeah, if you can try and try and find a time where there's no distractions. Something that is recommended with the games-based assessment as well, because it's often completed on a phone or a tablet, is to disable your notifications. Because
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but if you're doing something on your phone where you need to concentrate and you keep getting all your friends messaging you, it's a bit of a nightmare, isn't it? So yeah, that's a small tip that we do recommend in the comms that go out to the candidates anyway. So you'll see that if you do get to that stage.
Yeah.
For the games-based assessment specifically, it is a game, so quite a fun game. I've played it many times. You can't really sort of like check where it's assessing you. You're not really going to realize that you're being assessed. So it will assess you in a way that sort of, it'll assess your personality, your traits and things like that. So you just sort of need to be yourself, and that will hopefully then translate to a good fit for our company.
Yeah.
For video interviews, this is obviously key in making a really good impression on the hiring managers, on the recruiters. So you want to make sure that you dress quite smartly, because you are simulating a real life interview. Whilst there isn't someone on the other end, you are still sort of presenting yourself and of how you would like to be presented in a workplace or anything like that. So I would advise always dressing smartly. And another sort of thing that I would say applies to the final stage, when you get to like an assessment centre or a real life interview or something, is just to be yourself and be authentic, because you can kind of tell when people are not lying, but kind of sort of making it seem really, really great. And our hiring managers are pretty smart. They can sense these kind of things. So yeah, just always make sure you're being yourself, because that, even if you think you might not be sounding really professional or whatever, it does come across very like a lot better than if you sort of sound a bit fake maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah, they would be my tips.
Yeah, they're really good tips. And I think, what we do, so when we're prepping for these webinars, for example, there's a lot that we need to prep in advance. So for example, just like Charlotte said, make sure you're in a quiet environment and put your phones on silent, make sure you turn off your emails. And what we do is that as grad crack, we've actually got a checklist of like 4 or 5 things that we try and stick to. So I think it's a really good idea of you guys as well out there as the audience. If you are going to do a lot of these video interviews and game-based assessments and everything else, write yourself a little list of jobs, so then you don't have to think about that and everything else as well, and then you can just check them off before you start, and then start the process. And like Charlotte said, enjoy it. They just want to know about you, who you are as an individual. They don't want you to put on an act and be something that you're not. And again, if you do try and put on that act as well, you'll forget halfway through, and then you'll think, oh right, which person am I trying to be? We've all been there, we've all done that. Sophie's smiling because she used to be an absolute nightmare doing that. She's nodding her head behind the scenes going, that was me. So just make sure you be yourself and enjoy everything. So thank you, Charlotte, really good hints and tips there. So now we're going to go on and meet the graduates. Alamide, I'm going to start with you, my love. Where are you on my screen? You're just there. If you could just tell the audience which university you studied and what did you study?
Thank you, Carla. So I studied at Loughborough University, and I studied electrical and electronic engineering.
Fantastic, thank you. Nathaniel, on to you with your Siemens, please. Show everybody your fleece.
It's the merch. I also studied electronic and electrical engineering, master's degree at the University of Southampton.
Fab, thank you. And Nicole.
Hi everyone. I also studied at Loughborough, but I studied product design engineering.
Fantastic, thank you. And I know I said at the beginning that you are all graduate engineers, but you've got quite different roles at Siemens. So could you just tell me a little bit more about your current roles and what you're involved in? And Alamide, I'm going to start again with you.
Okay, so I like to say that I'm a graduate project engineer. So that means when I come off the grad scheme, I'd be going on to the project engineer role. And just to give a brief idea of what project engineering is, I'll use the analogy of building a house. So when you take on a project to build a house, you could have different work packages, so splitting the projects down. And one work package to be to get the foundations done, the second work package, the walls, and the third, windows and doors. So here at Siemens, when we take on projects, we split them into work packages as well. And these work packages are managed by the people we call project engineers. So we're just responsible for managing the design, the implementation, and the testing on the project.
Fantastic. And is your job then, can you see a project all the way through, so from start all the way through to completion?
Yes, we can.
You're involved in it all. Oh, brilliant. Okay, thank you very much for that introduction. Nathaniel, so you're a graduate engineer, but who are you really?
So, my role is actually a graduate automation engineer in Siemens Digital Industries, which is the part of Siemens that I work in. They specialize mostly in automation.
Yeah.
So I work in a team of specialists who help client manufacturing companies upgrade or improve their production facilities. So these are industries such as like pharmaceuticals, consumer goods and food and beverages, like anything that has some sort of production line that uses automation technology.
Yeah. So would a client then, a pharmaceutical client, for example, come to you and say, look, I've got this problem with my production line, and then you would go away, you and your team would go away and try and solve that problem and present it back to the client?
Yes, exactly. So they could come to us and say, look, we've got these old production line tech kind of setups and we would like to upgrade to Siemens. And then the team would go about completely reinstalling with the state-of-the-art Siemens tech. Or if they already have old Siemens tech and they want to get it upgraded that way, or if they have any problems, that's where our team would come in.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. And Nicole, last but not least, over to you.
Thank you. So I'm currently working on the Crossrail project. As part of the graduate program, I have moved around, but this has been my longest placement. So I've been on this project for about a year now, almost. And we're basically delivering the control and communication systems for the new underground line in London. So our systems, which is like software and hardware, allows rail operators to basically control and monitor different things along the track and in the stations.
Brilliant, thank you, Nicole. And as you can see, just a message to the audience there, we've got 3 graduates here, and their roles and their projects and their experiences are massively different. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand over to Sophie, and Sophie will find out a little bit more from the graduates and why they chose Siemens to begin with, projects that they've worked on and everything else, and then she will join me back at the end, and I'll go and speak to the grads and Charlotte as well about their key exciting facts about Siemens. Sophie, over to you.
Thank you very much, Carla. Hi, everyone. So it was a really great introduction there. I think it just gives a really good overview of working for an organisation like Siemens that's got such a long history and sort of fingers in so many different pies, if you like, about what you can do as a graduate there. So we're going to start, as Carla said, by kicking off by finding out a little bit more from our grads why they're initially attracted to Siemens. So Olamide, you mentioned when kind of the run up to the webinar, when we've been having our chats, that you were initially attracted by the diversity and investment in employees that you see from Siemens. Could you tell us a little bit more about that and your personal experiences now you've actually joined the company as well?
Yes, so Siemens invests in their employees, and it does so in so many ways. I'll start with talking about how we invest in our personal and professional development. So Siemens sponsors our memberships for professional organizations. So like my IET membership is sponsored by Siemens. Not only that, but we also get numerous trainings that we go on the grad scheme and even after the grad scheme, just trainings like business influencing skills, customer communications, and just anything that would really help you optimize success in your career. Not only that, but we also get perks as employees at Siemens. So I think it's called Perks at Work, where we get discounts exclusive to Siemens employees and just things like that. There's also recognition awards. So if you do great, you're recognized, team building activities, and so many more. So all these investments are done for the future of both the company and its employees. And in terms of diversity, Siemens is really big on EDI, which is equality, diversity, and inclusion. I know on the grad scheme we've had webinars on diversity and inclusion, and it just makes sure that everyone is aware of what it means to be inclusive and ensures that the culture at work is also inclusive. And it's very evident among the people that we work with. It's part of our culture. So yeah.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Olamide. That's a really good message to get out to the students, because I know it's becoming more and more important to our audience when they are looking at different employers about their culture and values and these types of things that they put on as part of the graduate scheme. So thank you for running through that. Nathaniel, I'm going to head over to you now, because I know that you were initially attracted to Siemens as they are a world leader in automation technology. Can you tell us a little bit more about what Siemens does in that particular field? I know you've kind of touched upon what you do in your role, and anything that you've kind of been involved in so far that kind of proves that world leader status.
So Siemens are one of the market leaders across the globe for automation hardware and software. And by that, I mean specifically the motors and drives and kind of things that make these production lines work, and the software that controls them. And that's become really apparent since I started my role in the automation engineering team, by being involved in a project where they want to upgrade like some old system to a new Siemens one. So it's I'm just like going on the internet and reading up on these technologies. You're like, I'm actually working with the people who do it probably one of the best, if not the best, and it's a nice feeling.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And then over to you, Nicole. A huge attraction for you was the extracurricular activities that Siemens offer, volunteering opportunities, and you've also been involved as a STEM ambassador and a Young Rail Professionals ambassador. So could you tell us a little bit more about how all that works?
Yeah, so when I was at university, I really enjoyed kind of like the extracurricular stuff. So I loved getting involved in like volunteering, sports and society. So I thought it was really cool that I could still carry that on whilst I was working. So yeah, that was a big attraction point for me. And then in terms of like STEM ambassadorship, they really encourage employees to become a STEM ambassador and to volunteer with local schools. And I've also, I feel really grateful that the fact that they've been giving me really good support in events that I want to run by myself as well with local schools. So if you have good ideas, then they'll be supportive in making those happen. And then in terms of organisations that are external as well, we have relationships with different organisations and like non-profit companies or organisations. So Young Rail Professionals is one, and others like the IET as well we have involvement with. So yeah, there's definitely lots to get involved with alongside your normal working job as well.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Nicole. I think there's 3 very different reasons to be attracted to an organisation there, and I'm sure there's lots and lots more as well. But it's great to hear kind of what initially attracted you to Siemens as an organisation and sort of things you've been doing so far. So we've kind of covered off the benefits of, some of the benefits that we've seen of joining Siemens, and some of the things that you can find out on the Siemens Hub. We're now going to move on to the nitty-gritty of the application process and some of your guys' hints and tips. So Olamide, you were keen to encourage students to use the STAR technique when preparing for interviews and applications. Can you tell a little bit more about that to our audience and what that means and how that works?
Yes, so the STAR technique is a technique for answering behavioral questions in interviews, and STAR is actually an abbreviation for situation, task, action, and result. So when you're answering questions and you're giving evidence, you have to give it in this order. Situation means that you give your interviewer a little background of what the situation was. Task is to tell them what you were supposed to do, what you're supposed to do in that situation. Action is telling them what you did. So the important thing is highlighting what you did, so that's where they see you at your strengths and see what your strengths are. Mm-hmm. And then result is what happened in the end. Did it go well? Did it go bad? Did it pay off? So yeah. STAR technique, that's what it is.
Great stuff. Yeah, no, I think that's something that we often say to the students as well, is giving examples of when you've had to do certain things, and it will come up in the interview process as well. So using the STAR technique is really, really important. So I'm glad you've highlighted that today. Nathaniel, your interview was more of a character type of interview. So can you explain what that is and what you did to prepare for that type of interview?
So yeah, my interview was actually before I started university, because I've been part of the E3 scholarship scheme with Siemens, where you are sponsored throughout your university experience and you do summer placements in between. Mm-hmm. So before I started university, obviously there wasn't a huge amount of technical knowledge in my brain. So I learned what I could about Siemens, but at the interview, I think, like what Charlotte said, it matters a lot, like being yourself, being chilled. Sounds silly, but also just smiling a lot kind of helps as well, because it comes across that you're a genuine person and you're portraying yourself as who you are, rather than just a robot who's coming there to answer all these technical questions correctly, but not have any sort of depth or personality behind them. So there's not really a huge amount that you can prepare for that, but it just comes down to being sort of in the moment, not being too stressed, and just go with the flow and be yourself.
Great stuff, thank you. Charlotte, I'm just going to nip over to you quickly there. Is that something, is the character interview still something that's incorporated into sort of the graduate level and placement recruitment process as well, rather than just focusing on the technical aspects?
Definitely, yeah. So we use strength-based interviewing, which I would imagine is what Nathaniel went through, but it was quite a while ago when you were recruited, wasn't it? So we've used it for sort of the last 3 to 4 years. And yeah, the whole point is that it isn't to focus on your previous work experience or your prior technical knowledge, because we appreciate that early careers people aren't necessarily going to have that, because either they've not finished uni yet, or they've just finished uni, so they've got the theory knowledge but not necessarily the practical, like real life knowledge. So we try to do our interviews that way to make sure we're not tripping anyone up, and make sure we're getting the person out of the interview, rather than like Nathaniel said, like a robot that just knows a load of technical knowledge, because we'll teach you that. That's the whole point of these early careers programs, either apprenticeships, graduates, internships. They're all there to learn on the job. They're not a direct entry role where you're expected to have this knowledge. The whole point is that it's entry level and that you learn. So yeah, definitely echo that. That's definitely the process still, and we try our best to keep it at that level so that it's sort of accessible and fair for everyone.
Great stuff. Yeah, it sounds like it's very much about the person rather than the technical
100%. Yeah,
the right people for Siemens.
Yeah, exactly. We, even though it's such a diverse company and everyone is different, there is sort of a general feel when you meet people from, literally it can be from someone from like right down south in one of our offices down south, or someone up north who don't even know each other, but you have like a sort of feel that you're part of that Siemens family, and it's, which you wouldn't expect in such a large organization. But I mean, you guys are all nodding, you know what I'm talking about, don't you? It's hard to like put it into words, but there is just a general sort of Siemens feel with people. And like I say, in interviews you can sort of feel it out through these sort of strength-based techniques, where you get into sort of what energizes people and what their strengths are and what drives them, potentially in a workplace, potentially in school or whatever. So yeah.
Okay, lovely, thank you, Charlotte. Nicole, I'm going to come over to you now, because one of your tips, I think it was kind of similar to Olamide's, about giving evidence when answering interview questions. But can you remember a specific question that was asked of you and how you answered that during the interview process?
Yeah, I think I was hired quite a while ago as well, but I do remember that one of my questions was around a kind of like leadership qualities, like show how you were a leader or something along those lines. And as I mentioned before, at university, I did really enjoy getting involved in like sports and societies volunteering. So my example was that I was kind of selected for a volunteering role in this big event that was held at the university. It was a sporting event. And even though it wasn't kind of a STEM related answer, it provided like a really good example of how I got to use my skills to lead a team, overcome any problems that come up, or and like deliver something successfully as well. So something that isn't directly work experience related can still be used. So yeah, I like to reiterate that there's lots of value in getting involved in different things at uni as well.
Absolutely. I'm really pleased you said that, Nicole, because that is something that we say all the time to our students. If you're part of a society or a sports team, there's so many skills that you're picking up during those activities that are going to be so useful when trying to give evidence for leadership or team working or communication that you pick up. So fantastic. Thank you for that, Nicole. So thanks for that, guys, giving us that overview of those. And remember, as Carla said earlier, there's so much information on the Siemens Hub about all of these different types of things that we're touching upon today. So make sure after the webinar you go and have a read through the Siemens Hub as well. So we're going to go on to a question now, which I absolutely love asking people. It's a happy question. So how did you all find out you were successful at Siemens and then start preparing for your first day? So Olamide, I'm going to start with you.
Okay, if I remember well, I think I was supposed to find out about my interview the week after my interview, but for some reason on the Friday of that same week when I interviewed, I got a phone call telling me that I had got the job, and I was super excited. Did you ask how I prepared for the first day?
How did you prepare?
Yeah.
How did you prepare?
Really, there wasn't much to do. I was just excited. And also I did bear in mind that, I was myself at my interview, and myself was enough. So that's all I took to the first day, really. I was just myself.
Great stuff.
I really like that answer. Really like that answer. Myself was enough, so this is who I've stuck along with. Best answer I've had to that question so far.
Thank you.
So Nathaniel, try and top that.
Don't know if I can.
Pressure's on.
So because I'd had my interview before in the summer before I started uni, I also got the call saying I'd got the been accepted as E3 scholarship scheme before I started uni. So I remember being overjoyed and thinking, I've managed to get a job before I've even started my undergraduate degree. This is amazing. And that's the beauty of those scholarship schemes. I really do recommend them to anyone who's studying in STEM, because there are so many opportunities. Like, I really can't recommend them enough. And in a way, they do prepare you for your first day, because you have multiple first days at work through your time at university, because you got any summer placements. So when I actually started in October 2020 for my grad role, it just felt like I was just slipping back into the old routine, same old, just pick up where I left off. So I remember thinking to myself before I started in October, like, Nathaniel, you've got to get organised, because somehow I made it through university while being a little bit disorganised. But that was the thing I remember thinking. I've got to get my notebooks and my diary all planned out. So there's that.
Yeah.
Started in October just gone. So obviously a pandemic grad, as we like to call you guys now. How did all of that work? How joining during COVID? Obviously you've had experience as well from your point of view of being there in person and working in that sort of environment, to then going to working from home and starting a graduate scheme as remotely. How did that all feel and work from an organisational standpoint?
For me, am I answering that one? Right. Well, luckily in October we were allowed to go into the office, so I had a few days in person where I got to meet all the other new grads and my manager and all that. So that wasn't too bad. But going forwards, it's become a lot of working from home and a lot of virtual work. So essentially, you just got to be able to deal with that. Can you communicate via Microsoft Teams? Expect to be doing a lot of Teams calls. Not been having people check up on you. Are you doing your work? Are you checking off your targets? That's something to bear in mind. But it was nice having that first day in the office. I think that was really important, because I know some other of my friends that graduated this year, they started their job straight into the virtual space, and that can be weird. I can imagine just not having ever met your colleagues to you. They're just some pixels on your screen. So yeah.
Okay, cool. And then finally over to you, Nicole. How did you prepare for the first day, and how did you find out that you were successful?
So I got my kind of acceptance call when I was at university for my internship, and it was really exciting because, especially when you're just applying for so many things, and you might have got several rejections, but it's kind of just like a feeling of relief and excitement. So it was a really nice phone call to have. And in terms of preparing, what did I do? Like Olamide said, I don't think I did much. I think probably the day before I started, I would have chosen my outfit before, so and prepared everything the night before. So when I woke up the next day, all I had to do was just get there on time and be myself, I guess.
Lovely, that's great. So we've heard about kind of how you all found out and prepared. It doesn't sound like much preparation is needed. Any raring to go.
Now let's thinking, no, we need to prepare. We need to be doing. I saw that little itch, right? Okay. Sorry.
We're now going to look at actually starting the job and how that works and what your day-to-day life's kind of really like. So Olamide, I'm going to start with you again. Can you tell us a little bit more about how your specific team at Siemens works? So do you report to a specific person? How many people do you work with on a day-to-day basis? That kind of thing. If you can give us just a bit of an overview, that'd be great.
Okay, so like I said earlier, I'm in the project engineering team, and there's about 15 of us in that team. At the moment, I don't report directly to one person because how it is, I'm on the grad scheme, so I have the opportunity to help out on different projects, and on those different projects, you have different people in charge of different things. So I report to different people or whoever I'm helping out. But I do have a fixed line manager who takes care of all my other needs or questions or anything. I'd say my team is filled with very welcoming and supportive people. So everyone is genuinely interested in your development and your growth. They constantly ask you, are you okay? Do you enjoy what you're doing? And they tell you to voice out if you think you're not being given the opportunity to play to your strengths as well. What else did you ask? What else did you want to know?
No, that's great. So do you feel like it's quite a supportive culture that you've got there within your particular team?
Yes, it is very.
And with your line manager that you mentioned, is that the sort of person that would help you in, your kind of progression goals, where you might want to go next? Is that who would kind of guide through that process?
Yes, so every year we sit down together and discuss where I want to be in the next year, what I want to have achieved, and we agree on certain goals. And at the end of the year, we sit down together again, have a look at how I've done, and just assess my performance, really. So it's really helpful because it helps you have a clear vision of where you want to go within the next 1 year.
Great. So if you decide that because you mentioned at the beginning about how important like the access to training and everything was that you receive at Siemens, is that the sort of person that you'd say, right, I would like training on this particular aspect, and they would then help facilitate that?
Yes. So on the grad scheme, you already have set trainings that you're supposed to complete. But if you see anything extra that you think, if I get this skill will be useful, or it will help out in the business, they'd be more than happy to fund that training as long as it benefits the business and you. So yeah, you would speak to your line manager and he could get it approved for you.
I'm going to come back to you in a little while, Amadeo, on that and just find out a bit more about the detail of what you're looking to do and progress over the next few years. But I'm going to scoot over now to Nathaniel again, just ask similar questions really. So, what is your day-to-day life like at Siemens, Nathaniel, and what's a team like, and how does it work day to day?
So in the automation engineering department, the team are quite specialist in what they do. So I can't just be one of them immediately. So to get to grips with how everything works there, they kind of delegate tasks to me as they come along. So because they work on a lot of projects through the year, some of them are really short and intense, some of them are spread out over some time. So they're mostly just delegating tasks to me. And I quite like that because it means that they just need me to do the task in any way I see fit. So it gives me the room to finish my job in the way that is playing to my strengths, which is a really good opportunity to learn some stuff because you don't have the pressure of uni where you're doing it just for the marks. You're doing it for your own knowledge and enjoyment. So that's what I really like about working in a team where I'm not really doing my own project. I'm helping others with their project. I also do, so everyone on the grad scheme, and I think after the grad scheme as well, you get involved with, it's called CSR, Corporate Social Responsibility. Yeah. So that's like my side project where I'm helping put together like this product design. And that's quite different to what I do in my main automation projects. So it's nice having a variety, and it's really cool reaching out to different parts of the business and making calls, bringing people together, seeing if they have the area of expertise that you need. It does make you feel like a real grown-up and a real professional engineer, especially coming straight out of uni and having being in a position where your opinion matters to people. It's a really nice feeling.
So you've got your automation side of things, and then you've got the CSR project that you're running.
Yes.
Within automation, would you be working on multiple projects at one time, or does it tend to be one project at a time and then you move on to something new?
So the team will be split up into all sorts of different projects, and I personally am involved at two. Right. So when they find like a bit that they know that my skill set will be able to help them, they'll just add me to the group on Microsoft Teams. So I'm in the loop with things, and then they'll delegate tasks to me, or they'll introduce me to someone who will have something for me to do. Yeah.
And then as you progress, Nathaniel, because when you mentioned earlier about, the role itself and the fact that you work with lots of different types of industries and obviously lots of different types of companies, then I would assume, do you get involved directly with the companies right now, or is that something that you would kind of move to more of a customer facing role later down the line, or how would that work?
So at this stage, we're already communicating with the engineers on that team. So there's a bit of like engineering to engineering kind of conversation to it. So that's now. I think in future, I would hope to be involved with the more like high level conversations as well in my career. So talking about like going beyond engineering, like the management style of it.
Okay, fab. Thank you very much. And then finally, Nicole, over to you. So what's your day-to-day life like at Siemens?
So I guess it's kind of different week to week. I mean, I'm working on a singular project as opposed to several different ones, but so essentially we have a stand-up every day. Actually, I'll talk about my team first. So I'm on the software team, and it's quite a big team, but it's kind of broken down into smaller teams that we kind of actively work with. And I guess they're called scrum teams. And I think they're about maybe 10 people, sometimes smaller. And we report into kind of one scrum leader, and most of us work from home, so all our correspondence is pretty much virtual, and then every day we have what's called a stand-up meeting. Pre-COVID, this would be us literally standing up in a room all together, but now we're all sat down at our desks. And this basically is a short meeting every single day where we report on what we have done the day before, or what we plan to do today, and then any blockers or problems that we're having, basically. And then through the week, we would basically work on either fixing any bugs that would come back from the software team, or implementing new features that were requested by the customer. So yeah, I feel like I'm learning all the time, which is really nice. And I think one thing that I really like about working in this team is that no question is like a silly question, and that when I first kind of joined, I was quite scared, like, what if I don't know enough? But no one has, like, everyone has been willing to help me, which has been really, really nice. So yeah.
I'm going to stick with you, as we move on to kind of the next question that I touched upon briefly with Alameda and Nathaniel, but where do you kind of see your role progressing? Will you be staying within the Crossrail team, or are you going to move outside of that, or where do you think you'll go in the next few years?
So yeah, I'll be staying on the Crossrail project, which is really exciting. I think in our kind of business unit, at least, we have 1 year of moving around and then 1 year kind of in one place. But it can be quite flexible. But yeah, I'll be staying on Crossrail, and in the next few years, one of my main goals is to become more professionally accredited. So Siemens helped me to get the engineering technician status last year, and then I'd like to eventually get incorporated engineer status, and then eventually get chartered. So Olamide, you were saying before about them being supportive in membership fees, and they also cover the application fees for that as well. So yeah, it's really cool.
So in terms of training and support around becoming a chartered engineer and becoming incorporated, does Siemens kind of help towards all of that aspect as well as the membership fees?
Yeah, so they're really supportive with professional development, and there's also a group that I've seen that kind of has either mentors that can help you with your applications, and you can network with other people that are going through the same process as well. So yeah, it's really good.
Great stuff. Okay, we're going to go back to Olamide now, and kind of talk a little bit about some of the things that I've just touched upon with Nicole. So where do you see yourself progressing within the organisation over the next few years, and what training and bits and bobs like that do you think you'll be getting to kind of help along the way?
Okay, so at the moment, I see myself going towards or moving up to become a senior project engineer, and then possibly a project manager. But I can only say what I feel like now, because the thing is, at Siemens, like, there's so many things to get involved in, and there's honestly so many routes you can take, or so many opportunities open to you, especially as a grad. So that's the good thing about Siemens, I'd say. What was the next thing you asked?
So is there, what sort of training or help do you think you'll need to be able to achieve those?
Okay, so far we've had various trainings, so technical trainings, and also soft skills type trainings. so like basic signaling technology, which teaches you about basically all the foundational knowledge about technology on the railway. And then going towards the role of a senior project engineer, I imagine I'll be taking the exam that's a step higher than that one. And then going towards the project manager role, on the grad scheme, we've all already had our foundational project management training, and we've all gotten certificates for that. So as you can see, they are paving the way for us to have different options when we're moving up.
Yeah, great stuff. It sounds like you do have the flexibility then to, if you do decide to kind of change direction in an organisation like Siemens that has got so many different divisions and arms to it, that you can kind of choose where you want to go, which is great.
Yeah.
Okay, so Nathaniel, same to you. I know we kind of touched upon that briefly, but where, if you had to look at, say, the next 5 years at Siemens, where do you think your role will progress to?
Similarly to the others, I'd be looking at the Chartered Engineering accreditation. Yeah. And like the others said, there's so much support for that. They've assured us that our grad scheme is like tailored towards ticking off all of the boxes that you need to get you a chartered status. So that means like over the course of the 2 years in the grad scheme, you get experience with like leadership, project management, working in a team, like all of those things that you need to get your CEng. So I'd hope to have got that by then. I think it's quite possible. I think on average it takes about 4 years. So by then, and then hopefully have had some pretty varied experience around Siemens. So the way my grad scheme works is you do 4 6-month placements in different departments, and you should aim to get quite a variety. Like, I mean, you obviously don't have to, but I personally would like to get a nice mixture of things around hardware and software in Siemens Manchester. So by then, I would like to try a few out and decided on which one I'd like to pursue as my main like career path. Yeah. And at the moment, it's looking like automation engineering, but we'll see. Still got 3 more placements after this to go. So
yeah, it's good that you've got the initial attraction was the automation, but you've now got the opportunity to try a few of the things within the business, which is great.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so finally, before I hand back to Carla, and there's another question that I love a lot of questions. Everyone has like really unique things that they've done as part of their career so far, but I just would like all of you to pick kind of a career highlight. So Alameda, again, starting with you, what is your career highlight so far?
Okay, so I got involved in a project that was basically automating a long business process, which would involve someone sitting down on some huge Excel sheets. And so basically the project was to automate this whole process, and it required someone who knew how to program in Python. And my manager walked up to me and he said, "Do you know how to write Python?" And I said, "No, but I know how to use Google, so count me in." And well, long story cut short, I got involved in this project. I was the only one working on it at the time. So I made like 3 major improvements to a tool that was already existing but had not yet received funding from the business. So this was just someone's idea that he was trying to, develop. And I think about 2 months after I came off the project, because I rotated to my new role, I got a phone call from him, and he said, "Good news, we got funding from the business." So that was really special for me because I took on the challenge of learning Python, and I implemented the changes, made the tool more user-friendly, and the senior management saw the tool as useful, hence why they gave us the funding. So that's my career highlight.
That's fantastic. That's a great highlight so far. Yeah. Sounds like you're going to have a long way to go though, like lots of other things that you can start improving and making better for everybody. So that's fab. Okay, so Nathaniel, same to you. What's your career highlight?
Before I talk about mine, I just wanted to say, Alameda, that's a really good point about how if you don't know something, you know how to Google it, like you know where to go to find out what you need to do. And that's a really important skill. It means that like the possibilities are endless out there. Like you can put yourself forward for anything, and you just got to have the confidence that you're willing to learn. And that's kind of something that I applied to my highlight as well. So the government is putting together a project in 2022 called Festival UK, which is a £120 million like funding into the creativity and arts sector to put on something really like spectacular over the course of that year. And one of the teams that wants to win a portion of that funding came to Siemens and said, "We need some engineers to help us like do the tech for our concept." And that worked its way down to my manager, who asked us and the grads who wants to get involved. So me and my workmate, my friend, we got involved, and it's so we're in one of the teams that's trying to win £10 million out of that funding to build their concept. So we're working with all these really cool creative people who are from a theatre company, and just me and the other grad who's my friend are making this device for them. This it's like a programmable smart light, so that we can win this funding and mass produce it and make something viral that everyone's going to watch on TV. So huge responsibility, very scary, but very exciting. And that might even be like the highlight of my career if it works, who knows. But yeah, hopefully you'll see it on your TV in 2022.
And again, it's something that you wouldn't necessarily think, okay, I'll be working with a theatre company at Siemens to create something like that. Is something that you wouldn't even think of. So that's brilliant.
Oh yeah, it's completely took me by surprise. Like I would never have foreseen this. It's great.
Well, thank you so much. So finally, Nicole, over to you. What is your career highlight?
So I think one thing that I really love about Siemens is how they give recognition. So in our business unit over the past few years, they've kind of held like award ceremonies and events. So one year it was I think it was last year, the London Transport Museum, which was really cool. So we went down to London with apprentices, interns and grads, and we got to have a really fun evening, and I won the award for basically for STEM and CSR work. So it's really nice because I'd worked really hard towards like my volunteering stuff, and plus it was just a really fun night just to enjoy and have fun and socialize with the people you work with. So yeah.
That's brilliant that, something that you enjoy so much has been really, recognised in a work capacity as well. And hopefully one day we'll all be able to celebrate like that again.
Yeah, I hope so.
But it's great as well, that Siemens put on events like that for their grads and interns and give you that kind of socialisation and fun nights as well. So yes, hopefully one day we'll be able to be in a room together again. Thank you so much to everybody today. That's been really great to listen to all of your experiences, and I think you've all made some brilliant points about not just the interview process, but also when you're actually in the job and taking the initiative, like things like Olamide said about I'm going to go and learn that coding language, and that was kind of seconded by Nathaniel. So yes, some amazing things today, and I hope that's been really valuable for our audience as well. So I'm going to hand back to you, Carla, to finish everything off.
Thank you, Soph. And yeah, really good to hear from all your experiences. It's been a really fun webinar, so really appreciate that as well. And Charlotte, I'm going to put you on the spot, and I don't know if you know the answer to this, so sorry if you don't. But the grads have all spoken about, their start dates, the in-person start dates, going on to, different campuses and different sites and things like that. Do you know what the start dates are going to look like for the grads and interns this year? Is it going to be virtual? Do we not know yet? Is it too early?
It is a little bit early, I guess. Typically interns start over like the summer, so they usually start once they've finished that uni year, from I'd say June to August, sometimes they start in September as well. Usually the graduates start in October, like it's usually like the 1st of October or the 2nd or something like that. We are going to stick to the start dates, but whether they'll be in-person start dates or virtual start dates, we don't know. I would think, just from reading the news and stuff with the vaccine, that we would maybe, even if you weren't starting permanently in the office, we would maybe be able to do some sort of like induction day in person in a safe way, because all Siemens staff at the minute are really trying to the best to make sure that it's safe to return to site when we are actually allowed. Like there's a lot of like apps going on and things like that, so that we can safely go onto site and not come into contact with too many people and all that kind of stuff. So we are working towards that as a company. So I would have thought, because we understand how important it is to be with people in real life, especially at the start of your career, brand new company, might not have worked anywhere before, you do kind of need that interaction. So yeah, I couldn't give you like a proper answer, but that's sort of what we're thinking and what we're aiming for.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And obviously, like all the grads have just said, whether it's in person or a virtual start or a virtual environment that you work in, it all sounds like it's really easy to either go and pop and see somebody or pick up the phone or pick up Teams, Zoom,
Definitely.
and ask questions.
I think, yeah, and I think that's been a thing with Siemens anyway, because like all of us, I mean, me and Nathaniel are both based in Manchester, but I don't think Nicole or Alameda are either. So like we're always all over the country anyway. That's part of working at a national company, a global company. So it wasn't like that weird for us to work from home and be like Zoom calling people. It's sort of the culture at Siemens, because we are such a big company and we're all over the country. So it doesn't feel too strange, I don't think.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah, thank you, Charlotte. I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
No, it's okay.
So what I want to do now is part of these webinars is to really get to know the nitty gritty of the employer. So I want your key facts. Now I know what yours is, Charlotte, but I'm really excited to know what the others are.
Oh, no.
I'm going to start with you. They better be good, you guys, honestly. So Charlotte, what is your key exciting fact that nobody out there in the world knows about Siemens?
Oh, I don't know if no one knows it. I didn't know it for a long time. It was probably about 3 years into the job that I realised, but I love it. Basically, the at Alton Towers, the theme park, one of the rides, it's called Nemesis, and that's powered by Siemens motor drives, and Nemesis is an anagram for Siemens, so it's like our little ride at Alton Towers. And it's actually, if anyone's been to Alton Towers, it's a really good ride as well. Like I quite like theme parks and stuff like that, so it's that's definitely my favorite fact. I feel like that's the most accessible fact, because everyone knows, like, well, most people know what Alton Towers is, most people know what theme parks and rides are. It's not like a really technical engineering thing. It's like it's a ride. So
I probably liked it, Charlotte. So I was like, I understand that. I understand.
Yeah, exactly. That's for me as well. Like, it doesn't like go right over my head. I actually get that.
Right, come on then, team. Alameda, next to you, what is your exciting fact?
Okay, the fact I wanted to use wasn't as exciting as Charlotte's one, so I'm going to try another one. Okay, this fact was very, very true before COVID, but now that COVID, like the lockdown is in place, I'm not sure if it still stands, but every day you interact with at least one Siemens product.
I've heard that before.
That is a great fact.
That is a great fact.
That's
What's
so
your
cool.
second one? Come on, give us your other one.
Oh, that was easy. Siemens is almost 200 years old. You could Google that.
Otherwise I'd have been disappointed. Nathaniel, what is your exciting fact?
Oh, the bar's been raised too high now. I don't know, anything interesting to see. Charlotte's taken the one that they tell us at all the presentations, but I don't know. I don't even know if this is right, but Siemens employ 350,000 people worldwide.
I'm looking at Charlotte.
It's a little bit less now. It used to be 350. It's a little bit less now, but yeah.
Right.
It's still huge.
Close to
It's still huge. It's still huge.
We'll give you that one, Nathaniel. We'll just give you that one. Nicole's always the last one. She's got the answers. Nicole, come on, let's do it for the team.
Well, I don't know if this is as exciting either, but the Eurostar is a Siemens train. But I didn't know that. Yeah, so.
I love it when we do these, because all the other people go, I didn't know that. They're writing it down to go away and tell everybody else. No, that's a good one, Nicole. Thank you very much. And just to finish with you, Charlotte, I know we've kind of probably answered this question with all the fantastic experiences that the grads have given. But, you know, from your point of view as a recruiter, you know, seeing graduates and interns every single day, why would you suggest Siemens to a student who is just starting out in their career? You know, what makes it different from your point of view?
So it's definitely been answered, but I'll sort of reiterate it from my point of view. For me, it's two things. The first being how valued early careers people are at Siemens. So you can see that from all the experiences these guys have had, but everyone is so committed to your development, even people that you don't work with every day, just people like for me, for example, I started as an apprentice, and a lot of my hiring managers who are, you know, senior managers in the company and stuff, they would be really really want me to develop and you know, I'm offering them a service, but they're still trying to develop me as well. So that's something that I think is just key, because you would think in such a large organization that early careers might get a bit lost, just because there's so many, you know, people, so many important things happening, but that's not the case at all. You know, our CEO is a massive advocate for early careers. A lot of the people on like the managing board started as apprentices, graduates. You know, they all come from a very similar position. So it's massively valued in Siemens. The other thing I would say is Siemens is unique in the fact that it is such a large organization, spanning across so many different sectors. So like the guys on here today are from different sectors and from different divisions of Siemens, but it's not to say that they couldn't ever travel into their other divisions and get opportunities within there. It's almost like you enter the company and you sort of set up for life, because you could go to so many different places in the UK, but then also globally as well. Like there's opportunities, like we have opportunities to travel globally, just in our jobs, but you know, there's opportunities to then go and work in a different country. You know, we've had some really great success stories of people like going to Germany or, you know, like Singapore or somewhere like that and having really successful careers, because it is so big that there's always going to be opportunities. So it's like you could keep having different jobs, keep having different careers, and working across different sectors for your whole life, really. So I think that's probably another thing that it's not necessarily unique, but it is like it's a really good part about Siemens being such a large organization, where you are encouraged to take those opportunities as well. Because you know, you could think that, oh, if someone's really good in my team, then I'm not going to let them go. I'm not going to encourage them to go for other opportunities. But that's not the case at all. Like we still would encourage you, even if it meant you going to a different team or something like that.
Yeah, and I think, Charlotte, you've just kind of hit the nail on the head there when you say about Siemens wanting to progress people and put effort and time into people. When you've just said that, you know, a lot of people on the management board started out as apprentices, undergraduates, graduates, and it gives everybody who's watching now as an undergraduate or graduate room to know that they can progress. You know, they can be on the management board of a global company like Siemens, which to me is just, Nathaniel's smile is like, yeah, one day that's going to be me. That's your plan, Nathaniel. But yes, so thank you very much, everybody. It's been an absolute delight to hold this webinar today. I'm so glad to be back with everybody, and yeah, it's been really insightful. So thank you, everybody for joining us.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I think our roles are live on our hub, aren't they? So people that are watching that have taken some inspiration from our amazing graduates today, you can go and click and apply to the graduate roles now, I think. Yeah. We're all live, good to go.
You're doing my job for me. That's exactly what I was just going to say.
You were just going to say
what Charlotte said. Go on
Please
to the
apply.
Go to the GradCracker Hub, do your research, apply. You know, they've got fantastic opportunities. The webinar will be live on the Siemens Hub tomorrow as a whole. And as I always say, we'll break it up into different sections. There's some really fantastic sections that we're going to break it up and be in the Careers Centre probably early next week. So take a look for those. Next week, Sophie, you're taking a break, and Jessica is going to join me with Arup. So Arup is a global firm of designers, engineers and planners. They've worked on some fantastic projects, such as the new waterfront in New York City, building Russia's largest data hall, to name a few. But for now, make sure you go onto Siemens Hub, apply, follow, rewatch the webinar if you want to watch it again, and I'll see you next week. See you soon, everyone.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.